Yo, what's up? This is 49ers Coast to Coast. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Jason Aponte, and we're playing a game today. We always have to talk about the 49ers starting quarterback. We don't always want to talk about the 49ers starting quarterback, and we're kind of OD'd on it. So the game is we can't say his name today. We're allowed to talk about him because you can't avoid it sometimes, but you cannot say the first name, the last name, initials, nicknames, none of it. And if you do, you lose, and everyone gets to point and laugh at you. Otherwise, it's going to be a normal show talking about Niners. Jason, how you doing? Good to have you on.
I'm great, Grant. Thank you for having me, man. This sounds like fun.
It sounds like something a rule we should have instituted a long time ago. It's the Harry Potter Voldemort rule. He who must not be named. Let's start with my little thing with Joe Montana yesterday.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
His
really people cool. Reached out to me. I felt really lucky and fortunate. He's the CSO, the Chief Strategy Officer of the Fan-Controlled Football League, which sounds actually really cool. I've always liked an idea of a 7-on-7 spring league. And this one, like fans, like it's like fantasy football. Like there's like a draft every week and fans get to decide who's on which team. That's kind of cool. Johnny Manziel's in it, which is kind of cool. Anyway.
Josh Gordon too, right?
Yeah. That's a great idea. Richard Sherman is a part owner of a team. Marshawn Lynch is a part owner. It seems like awesome. A good idea. Anyway, so when I was done talking to Joe about that, I asked him a couple of questions about he who must not be named. And on the record, no hesitation. He's like, yeah, they should probably move on. You know, he's fine when he's on the field. He's just not on the field enough. They should get someone young. And it's just, I mean, obviously it didn't set the world on fire, but locally, Jimmy must know that, I did it. Okay, yep, I'm down 1 point. I got 1 point. Let's keep score because I think you're going to have one too. I just said his name. Okay, 1-0. You're winning. I have -1. Hey, I didn't last long. Okay. All right. So it seems to me that he's like, he hears it like, wow, Joe Montana wrote me off. Does that change anything? The fact that Joe Montana said it, or do kids not even know who Joe Montana is anymore?
You know, honestly, a lot of what he, when you first presented, the quote, I won't lie, that really took me back, right? Him saying that, about, what was the word about, young
and vivacious?
Yeah, vivacious. That's the word I was looking for, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at that quote, you look at it and you're like, man, he really he went off on a tangent. Really, honestly, though, he kind of played both sides in the entire quote, right? Like he lined it up with, and he prefaced it with when healthy, things like that. I felt like the most telling thing from there, the thing that I really grabbed from it, was his just complete opposition of giving the quarterback, that was close. The quarterback, that money after 5 games.
Yes.
That's the part that I really walked away with it from, because he said, hey man, how much was it? 5 games, 7 games started, something like that. He goes, that's a lot, to do that. He goes, and he seemed really bothered by that idea more than, everything else that was there. So I really took that quote as the one that I was like, man, he was really against it. I don't know. It's revisionist history on my part to say that I didn't agree with it then, because that's not true. That's not true, right? Like, the quarterback comes in, they win a bunch of games, and I'm excited, and I'm like, yeah, bring him in. He looks like the guy, right? He wins these games. He beat a team that wound up going to the AFC Championship that year. There was an electricity around the stadium, so it would be wrong of me to act like I didn't think that was the right thing to do then. I'm just wondering whether Joe felt that way then, or if now all of a sudden it's come to like, well, why did you give him all that at that time? It would be revisionist history, and it would be wrong on my part to sit here and act like I wasn't cool with it. But that was the quote that I really took away from that, where I was just like, man, did he really mean that? Or was that something that he just came across now? And did he mean it then?
It's a good question. If you go back to the quote, you can see he says, I tried to tell him. He actually said, I tried to tell him, like, there's no track record of quarterbacks who were groomed under Hall of Famers who left and became great other places. Of course, there's Rodgers and Steve Young. They stayed and basically pushed out their right. You
don't get rid of.
They were backing up. You don't.
The part that I think you said, or it was something. It was on one of your shows that I thought was really telling. Was you don't move the backup if he's the man. Yeah. You move the guy in front of him if he's the man. Right. And I thought that was really a good quote by a good statement by you, honestly.
And I think that's what Joe was trying to point out. Like this guy, the guy we're not going to name, got all of this money because of 5 starts and Tom Brady's reputation. It's like, well, he must have been learning from Tom, learned from the best in the world. 3 years on the bench in New England, and now he comes to San Francisco, who stinks and wins 5 games. I've seen enough. $137 million. And from Joe Montana's perspective, the greatest quarterback of all time, he's like, man, I had to do a whole lot more to get money in my life, and I still never got $100 million. I mean, he's still working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that was the quote that really just stuck out to me. Honestly, everything else is pretty much everything that's been said. I don't want to, continue to say, hey, well, look, we've been saying that, you guys know, what has been said, and things like that. And I just thought that was the one that I really, when I heard that quote, I was like, man, that one, he seemed really, that one was the one that he really seemed a little charged up about when he was speaking.
The money. Yeah. I just feel like, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, all, writers, people can have the Niners back and try to pump up this quarterback's trade value and say the Niners can win with him. He has a good record. He's not as bad as people say. People need to calm down. Once Joe Montana says it, that's it. I don't think that it's hard to go against the person who built your franchise for that long. I mean, he built the franchise. And once he's given up on you, dude, I mean, all right, you have a little more time, but
Joe knows a little something about playing quarterback. And also, he's kind of had to deal with this as well, too. You alluded to the Steve Young thing, right? And one of the quotes, which this wasn't on your show, I believe it was on First Take. Well, the 49ers didn't tell me they were trading me, but you knew he heard that. You know that he had heard those things, right? But again, the situations between the quarterback and Brady and Joe and Steve, those aren't parallels, right? Those aren't the same things, right? Again, what the 49ers saw when they had Joe was, we've got a guy who's ready to go. Steve, we're not going to trade him. Right. We're trading you.
Sorry, Joe. And Joe was like, what, 33? I mean, he wasn't even that old.
No.
Sorry, Joe.
And he went on to succeed, right? Like he took the Kansas City Chiefs to an AFC Championship game, right? And he even got his little measure of revenge in '94, because I am old enough to remember that. There was a Week 3 matchup. You can tell Joe was fired up to win that game. So it's just, what I really took from it is, one, the business side of it, because when Joe Montana is telling you, I didn't know I was going to be traded, things like that, right? That just means that people, things move and things are fluid and things like that. And then, that part about just giving the money after 5 games, I thought that those were the 2 things that really, really stood out to me when it came to his points.
The other thing is, I remember Alex Smith, he did that interview a few years ago. It's been circling recently. He said, when Jerry Rice said it was time to move on from me, that really hurt. And he was like, I look forward to the away games more than the home games. When a franchise legend says, we're done with you, that's always got to hurt. Like if Ray Lewis were to say something like that about Lamar Jackson, he would hear it, and that would affect him. That's a lot, and I don't think Ray Lewis would say that. He's like, no. For Joe to go on the record and just kind of say it without even thinking, like, ooh, that would hurt my feelings if I were that quarterback. I mean, that quarterback and Joe were in the same commercial together, and they even clowned on him in the commercial, like, so bags.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Joe reaches out to you, right? And let's just say, your reputation precedes you, right? He didn't seem like he was worried about, one line and twist it to whatever you want. But, when you listen to the whole conversation and you listen to everything that he said, he played both sides of it. He talked about, he said his good things. It's just those two little nuggets were the ones that I took from it. I was like, maybe I need to think on this a little bit more.
Okay, let's talk about Chris Sims, because I find his quarterback scouting and analysis to be refreshing. It's unique. There's no one like him. And he says things that you won't agree with, some that you do, but he always explains and explains and explains, what I appreciate. So let's start with, I think you've watched. Have you watched this podcast?
I have.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's stuff that we don't agree with. Let's start with what we do. What was one thing that he said that maybe seemed far out and outlandish at first that you're like, what, he's actually dead on about?
It's this Mac Jones stuff. Like I'm coming along now with Mac Jones, right? And I think that he kind of, I think it was his second podcast, because he has another one, Unbuttoned, where he curses and he really is unfiltered. I think it was there where he really explained the fit for Mac Jones and everything. And we've talked about this on your show, right? What are the chances that Kyle falls in love with somebody who his comp is Kirk Cousins, right? Like that's his comp.
Through the roof. And he is a lot like Kirk Cousins. I got to say.
No, and that's, I think that's a fair comp. I think that's his ceiling, right?
Yeah.
here's the question that I'll pose to 49ers fans. If you are in on Mac Jones, then you invariably have had to think that Kirk Cousins is an upgrade in any way, right? Because we just talked about it. Kirk Cousins has had the best 2 years of his career, the last 2 years, whether you want to agree with that or not. That's not really up for opinion. Like the way that he's been processing the field and doing things. Yeah, they didn't win a ton of games. Their defense was awful. But if you can't tell me in one breath that you're in on Mac Jones and then say, yeah, no way on Kirk, no chance. Like,
they're
it's
so
the same
similar.
thing.
Right. When you think about him, like what does what does Mac Jones bring to the table? Not physical traits. He's a processor, anticipation, good downfield thrower, not mobile, not big. That's Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
That's
and he
Kirk
navigates
Cousins.
The pocket pretty well too, right? He looks like it looks like, look, again, this is my first full year of doing quarterback evaluations. And I think this is what the fun part is about this is that we can look down the line 2-3 years and say, man, did I get that wrong? Man, did I, and I think that's what's really cool about this, right? Yes. So like, as much as I was down on Mac Jones, I'm getting to the point now that I'm watching more and more. I'm listening to people who are, a lot smarter than I am. I don't want them to dictate my thought process, but when you make a good point, you make a good point, right? And now I'm starting to look at it, and I think the Mac Jones thing really has legs. And it's just when you look at what Kyle has adored about Kirk Cousins, how could you not think that he would be in on Mac Jones? Like that, it kind of just lines up, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. He got Mac Jones right. There are some questions I have about Mac Jones, but calling him Kirk Cousins, that's exactly who I envision him in. The only thing is, would you take a young Kirk Cousins with the 12th pick? Would you?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. Would Kyle? Yes. Yes. And here's the thing. Mac Jones may not even be available at the 12th pick. The Panthers might take him at the 8th pick. The Niners might trade up to get him at number 7. I hope they don't. I like him, but not that much. Mm-hmm. What I think he got right is the Kellen Mond stuff, obviously. I've been talking about him for a long time, but he said it so well. What I like about him and what he liked is like, don't even talk about the athleticism. He's a passer. He's polished. He's accurate. He has a strong arm. The completion percentage is more a function of the predictability of the offense and the lack of talent and the SEC and all that stuff. He's really a good passer who gets from A to B to C quickly, seamlessly, as Chris Sims said. And then on top of it, he's a good athlete as well. The comp for him, I've been going around, like he's not Dak Prescott. Dak's a hell of a player. Mm-hmm. He's not Colin Kaepernick either, because Kaepernick was like a Greek god. He was like 6'4", 235, super fast.
Was it Croc or was it KP that called him Diet Kaepernick on the round table? I kind of like that.
That's pretty good. I was talking with Vish. This is what Vish said, and I think it's the closest one I've seen yet. Alex Smith.
Okay, talk to me.
Alex Smith. He's he protects the football. He's athletic, but he's a passer first. He's really accurate. He's just a very polished. He wins a lot. He's built about the same 6'4", 217. You wouldn't consider him like a dual threat quarterback, but he's a mobile pocket passer. Alex Smith. And you know what? I've always kind of preferred Alex Smith to Kirk Cousins. Cousins puts up better numbers. Alex Smith just finds ways to win. And I think that the Niners could win with Kellen Mond right away on a rookie deal as a rookie for all the reasons that Chris Sims said. He got me so excited. I feel him on that. I was like, yup.
Yeah.
I like Kellen. And honestly, I think I like him more than Mac Jones because he's maybe not quite as good of a processor as Mac Jones, but he gives you the off-schedule stuff, the rolling out of the pocket stuff that Jones just doesn't offer.
Right. So, you and I disagree with Kellen Mond. I disagree with Chris Sims on this as well. But
should we go to that right now? What Chris Sims got wrong, or do you're going to talk about Fields with that one? So let's just stick with this one.
Yeah. So, what I'll say is this: I don't have to agree with Chris Sims, because obviously everybody's analysis of other people, for the most part, is going to be subjective to the person, right? And what they look for. Mm-hmm. What I will say is this: when you've earned the track record that Chris Sims has had, right? Because people were all on him about Lamar Jackson being, the number one, right? And everybody, Bill Polian called him a running back. Everybody was yelling at him, right? And it's always around this time that these quarterback rankings come out. It's a good topic of discussion. But if you want to count his losses, you can. If you want to count his hits, those are the ones that you really need to look at, right? And so whether I agree with him or not doesn't matter. The guy's earned enough equity to go out on those limbs, say those things, right?
That's why we're talking about him. Yeah.
Right. For sure.
I take him seriously.
It's a great topic point, And I
don't expect him to be 100% right because no one is, but I take him seriously because he seems like he's closer than other people.
Yeah, no, he is. He is. So, again, I don't want this to be the main reason that I'm like down on Kellen Mond, right? But it's just I can't get that first quarter of play in the Senior Bowl out of my mind. So look, fair. I was talking with Croc,
and you saw him in practices too.
Yes, yeah. So I was talking with Croc, right, and he said, "Hey, look, man, don't take the Senior Bowl as like the golden grail, right?" He goes, "Think about this. You're trying to learn offensive plays while you're there. You don't have the chemistry with guys that are there, right? Okay, so I thought about all those things. The problem is that I didn't have issues with any of that. I had issues with ball placement. While he's on the run, guys are having to reach back here, things like that. Like I said, as good as he played in that third quarter, that's how bad he was in the first quarter, right? And that's the part that I don't want that to be the main reason that I'm down on Kellen Mond, but I can't get those images out of my mind. I can't.
To be fair, didn't you have the same impression of Mac Jones at the Senior Bowl?
I did. So look. So Mac Jones, what he did well, you saw that one throw that was there. Everybody saw that, right? But I think the thing that really kind of put me off was he fumbled a ton in practice. And I'm not talking about being hit and fumbling.
Understanding?
Getting the ball and then just having it fall out of his hands. And it happened
he spent his whole career in the pistol and the shotgun. And that's one of the reasons Kaepernick didn't start right away with the Niners because of the pistol. He fumbled so much his rookie year in training camp. Same thing.
Right, and as much as the good
That's
press
coachable, but it means he may not be ready right away.
Well, as much as the good press was out there about Mac, because there were people saying that, it's just the buzz around was just like, remember, they were calling him MEH Jones during the time. And we were at an event before the Senior Bowl, and a guy walks, one of the guys that we're interacting with, he comes up, he's like, Mac's not playing tomorrow. He's like, no shot. And we're like, what? You're in Bama. Like, this is, and he just was like, he's worried about his stock.
What scares me about Mac Jones is that physically, mentally he's got it. Physically, he's not that far removed from Nick Mullins. He's not that much that he is, but less than people want to admit. And when you say that he looked like Med Jones at Senior Bowl, what's he going to look on an NFL field? That's my fear. Is he steps on the field and you're like, oh God, he's small.
But here's the thing:
he can't move. He doesn't look like he belongs.
The physical thing bothered me too, right? When I was looking at, he looked like, he has a dad bod for a 21
first round for this guy, really?
Right.
Okay.
But Tom Brady looked weird when he first came out, So again, I'm trying to strip all my stupid biases away from all of these things and trying to be down the middle, right? So I'm coming along to Mac Jones, but these are the things that I can't get out of my mind from what I saw.
Would you agree that? Oh, let me ask. I'm not gonna say would you agree. Who was more impressive at the Senior Bowl in your opinion, Mond or Jones?
Mond. And the third quarter was enough that proved it, honestly. The third quarter, he was lighting it up, man. And like I said, for as bad as he looked in the first quarter, he looked that good in the third quarter. They got some easy throws for him. He looked like he got into a rhythm. I think that anybody that was in that stadium would have said Mond is probably the best out of all of those guys, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if you like Mac Jones, and I do, look at Kellen Mond. Just take a. And here's the thing about Kellen Mond. Don't just look at 2020. That's why I think a lot of people love Zach Wilson, because 2020, every throw, every game is just immaculate. Even Coastal Carolina, he played well. But what about 2019 and 2018? He was a totally different player with totally different results. And I think that's part of the picture, unless you are cool drafting a guy just based on 1 year. With Mond, his best year was 2018. That's when he had his best team around him. So if you can watch the game where he put up 74 on LSU, it's worthwhile.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's always competition, right? So if you did that on LSU, you should take that as something that's big, right? And again, we talked about this. The knock on Wilson, Fields, all these guys, experience. Yes. It's just experience. That's really, look, they have their knocks and their physical, whatever, things that they do wrong, but really experience. So it's like, aside from Trevor Lawrence, a lot of these guys have just got 1 year.
That's right. Jones has 1 year plus. Trask has 1 year plus. Fields has a year and a half. Wilson has 3, but only 1 was really noteworthy. All right, let's talk about what Sims got wrong with his quarterback rankings, in your opinion.
Come on, man. You know where I'm going with this.
Definitely Justin Fields. Trey Lance as well? Okay.
The Trey Lance one doesn't really bother me as much, right? Because I love the kid. I think that he probably has the highest ceiling of all of them, but the floor, right? We just don't know what that is right at this point. When you go back and you watch Trey runs, a pro-style offense. They have a really good – Dylan Redunz is a great tackle as well, too, which shouldn't be overlooked and in the draft as well. He hits a lot of those throws that Shanahan gets open as far as those leaks and things like that, where there's plays where Trey runs out after a play action and he runs to the far hash and he throws it across and it's like boom, dot, and it's like it's in there, right? So I'm not that upset with what he said about Trey. The Justin Fields thing, when I got to see him talk a little bit more about his footwork, I didn't see what he's talking about with his feet being too close.
I didn't hear that part. What are feet too close? Is that what he said?
Yeah, feet too close, and then he says that he's striding. I don't really see that. I mean, but again, look, just because I didn't see it doesn't mean that it's not there, right? You know, so it's just those were, you know, he offered more context to his analysis on the Unbuttoned podcast, which came out, I think, today or something like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Right, where he actually stood up with the football, even though he's lefty, and showed what he, you know, and I didn't really, you know, once you take a look at that, you tell me, but I don't really think I saw any of those things where.
And what was his point? So he says that it causes him to overstride.
Yeah, and then he misses easy throws. He says because of things like that, and I'm like, so here's the problem that I have.
That's teachable,
right? Right, I think so. But in one breath, you say he's a first round talent, and then you say, oh, he can't hit these easy throws. Which is it, man? Like,
yeah, you know, exactly. Like, is this something he can't do, or is that fixable? See, to me, he is Cam Newton. I think he's a lot like I don't see Deshaun Watson. I see Cam Newton because Cam Newton's the same way, man. Cam Newton throws every pass the same way, and it's like muscles up really hard, or used to be. And then the last couple of years, he started to get better with the short throws, but it took him deep into his career. When he played originally on the Panthers, it was you drop back, hold the ball a long time, wait for dudes to to run downfield and throw low percentage passes down the field. That's your game. And if it doesn't work out, run. Justin Fields could do that, and he could have success. I just don't think he can execute Kyle Shanahan's offense right now the way Kyle wants it, because Kyle has a bunch of short passes, and I think he wants a guy who's really good in the short game, like a golfer. Like, I don't think he cares as much about the drive as he does about the chips and the iron shots, because it's a lot of slants. And that's why I think Kyle would agree that Zach Wilson is better, because Zach Wilson is smaller. He's got a shorter stroke. He's just more natural on the short stuff. I think that means something to Sims and to Shanahan, and it wouldn't mean that much to another quarterback. Maybe Andy Reid would be like, you know what? I don't care. I can fix these two things with Justin Fields, and he'd be explosive on my team.
One more thing that Chris Sims said that I thought was interesting is that he's like, oh, he's a fit. Like, he was like, yeah, he's like, he could go in a Shanahan offense, right? I thought I heard him say something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing here? So look, I've had a lot of people come to me and say, well, why would he wreck his credibility by keeping Justin Fields' stock down? I'm like, well, it's not that. He's not going to have his credibility wrecked. You know why?
He'll be on
Pro Football Talk next year. He'll be on Pro Football Talk. Yeah. And like, you know, even if, let's say, he gets it wrong, who cares? That man does not read social media. That man has a job. You're not going to cancel him. So it doesn't matter, right? So, you know, the conspiracy theorists want to put their tinfoil hat on and say, he's doing Kyle's work, keeping him down, you know, things like that. Maybe. But at the same time, that guy can say whatever he wants. He's earned all that, right? And that's the point that I'm really with on this one. So,
and I think his main point about dude is that he just have to run a specific type of offense to get Fields on the field as a rookie. And I think some coaches would be more willing to do that than others. We're going to see a bunch of coaches willing to work with Justin Fields. I just think Sims is kind of revealing that Shanahan isn't that type, and I'm not surprised. Shanahan wants a dude like Mac freaking Jones.
Yeah.
You know, the athleticism is a bonus for Kyle. It's not – if that's everything, then he's going to nitpick you to freaking death.
He wants everything on script. He wants everything on script. Yeah.
I'm telling you, and that's what I was saying about Fields when we were talking in the roundtable. Like, look, he's not executing. You can feel that's coachable, but I don't think Kyle does. Because maybe Kyle can't coach it. Maybe Andy Reid can. Maybe these, you know, they're different backgrounds. But I'm not surprised that Chris Sims says it, because I feel like Chris Sims and Kyle basically share a brain on these things. Yeah. And I don't know. I wasn't surprised. So what I thought you go ahead.
Good. No, well, what I was going to say is, and hey, if Justin Fields finds his way at 12, okay.
Yeah. I don't think they'll take him though. But prove me wrong, Kyle. That'd be interesting. What I think Chris Sims got wrong was the Zach Wilson thing. I really like Zach Wilson. I think he's a hell of an athlete. But to put him number one and say that it's a wide margin above Trevor Lawrence, the stuff he said about Trevor Lawrence was very interesting. And I'm not even going to say he's wrong. Trevor Lawrence is high cut. He's 6'6" with long arms. Those quarterbacks don't work in the NFL. Justin Herbert does. He's kind of the exception. And if you look at he has like abnormally short arms for a tall guy. It matters. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence won't work, but again, his short game might not be that good. I don't think Kyle would really. I think Kyle would prefer Zach Wilson, but dude, Zach Wilson is he is a 1-year wonder. You go back and watch, he had some very uneven games in 2019. That's not that long ago, and he's allowed to improve. But to take a guy that high in the draft, to say he's clearly the number one best player in the draft based on like 13 games in a pandemic year where he didn't play anyone better than Coastal Carolina, to me is just like asking to be wrong. There's just not enough evidence to say something that's strong about him. I have a lot of questions.
So here's another thing that I want to float to you because it's been floated out there, and I kind of took a peek at his mentions. And this is how I know this man does not look at social media at all. He tweets and either mutes and just moves on and doesn't even look. So someone said the week before he put Lamar at 1 or Josh Allen at 1, right? Because that's what he's really standing on. He had Lamar number 1, and then like so week to week. What's the real right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to knock Chris Sims at all. Like I said, this man has earned his equity to be able to say what he wants to say because he's been right on certain things. I'm just trying to figure out, what's the timeline on these rankings, right? So he put them out 3 days ago, March 1st. This is it, right? So now nobody's gonna remember any changes that he makes. This is it.
True. So that's true.
So,
I mean, do you have the questions I have, Wilson? I mean, he plays really freely, but God, couldn't a lot of people do what he does at BYU?
No, he does. I think that what I like about him is that he runs, a lot of Andy Reid's an alma mater, so he's given them plays to run, just so he can like get in the style of running NFL style plays and pro style plays. I know that, for sure, and I see it. Look, if you're asking me right now to do whatever, I've got Wilson 2 behind Trevor Lawrence. I do, and I love Justin Fields. I've got him at 3, but. Is there a world that Zach Wilson could be number 1? Yeah, it's just I have a harder time believing that over Trevor Lawrence. Like again, give me the short bet. Even if Trevor Lawrence has deficiencies, like you could say one read quarterback about any of these guys pretty much at this point, right? Even Trevor Lawrence. Like, but again, in college, those reads are for like one read. Sometimes there are no progressions. There's a lot of context and nuance that needs to be shout out to Vish. Nuance needs to be out there and thrown in there, but. I mean, everybody has concerns. None of these guys are bulletproof. It just feels like Lawrence is the number one, chance to be the right guy. There's concerns with Wilson and the concerns with Fields. Again, Wilson's the one who's actually played more than Fields and those guys. So those guys at least get a little bit of pass as far as experience goes. There is a possibility there's a 1-year wonder. There is a possibility that he clicked it together. Yep. So I just don't see him falling past the Jets. I think at 2, I think that's where he's at. He's going.
Well, we've been giving comparisons for each of these quarterbacks. We compared Mac Jones to Kirk Cousins, pretty much agreed there. I compared Kellen Mond to Alex Smith. You had never thought of that. We compared Justin Fields to Cam Newton. Is that kind of fair? I think we both feel he's basically Cam.
It's like a mix of Cam with a little bit of. I see a little Watson. I do. Okay. I do. It's just I see, but I'm not flat out saying yes. His comp is Deshaun.
Cam was a rookie of the year, so I mean, if Justin Fields can pull that off. I just feel like you can structure offense to fit Justin Fields. Let him drop back and throw deep. He can do it. And if he needs to protect himself, he can run after that. If you want him to execute a quick passing offense, why would you even draft him? It's not what he's built for. It's not what Cam's built for. So that's on. And Kyle would never change his offense for Justin Fields, in my opinion. But he just wouldn't. He's so stingy.
He had to do it with RG3
but not willingly.
No, he didn't. Of course not. He was forced. They didn't even want to draft him. Snyder was like, "This is who you're drafting."
And so I guess Kyle would disagree with me with this because I think he loves Zach Wilson, but I'm comparing Zach Wilson to RG3. Now, maybe physically they move a little differently, but just step back. RG3 had a bunch of decent years at Baylor. He also missed a year with a surgery. Zach Wilson has shoulder surgery. And then boom, this one glorious freaking year where he's the Heisman Trophy winner and has like 37 touchdowns and 15 rushing, 50 touchdowns. But it's just 1 year at Baylor. And he's the number 2 pick. Some people even said he was better than Andrew Luck. He tears it up right away, but he really runs around a lot and doesn't have a very good feel of how to protect himself. And he gets hurt. I don't want to speak that into existence for Zach Wilson because I don't want a kid to get hurt, but I'm afraid drafting him, limited sample size. Is he going to get hurt playing like that in the NFL? That's what scares me about Zach Wilson. Durability, even though he pulled it off at BYU.
Yeah, I mean, those are concerns for sure. And yeah, I mean, again, this is what makes the evaluation process so fun, right? Is everybody has their things. What can they overcome? What are they going to learn from? Durability, that's something that I don't think can change. I think it's a little bit of luck, when it comes to injuries, right? Because some guys just either can stay healthy or can't. But I wouldn't use that if I was the Jets as a reason to not take him at 2, honestly, at this point. Give Darnold his last shot this year, see what happens, and then try to move him because next year Darnold gets really expensive. I don't know if anybody's going to be in the market for him at this point.
I mean, there are talk about 1-year wonders. Kyler Murray was a 1-year wonder, but it's not like he had mediocre years. He just had 1 year and he was a baller.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Zach Wilson as a sophomore had 11 touchdown passes and 9 picks. What is that? That's people well, Joe Burrow blossomed. Joe Burrow had 16 touchdown passes and 5 picks his junior year and 7 rushing touchdowns. He wasn't mediocre the way.
And don't discount his age either. Joe Burrow was older. It was almost I don't know if you remember a movie called Necessary Roughness with Scott Bakula. That's how old he looks sometimes on the field, being a quarterback, who's a 40-year-old guy playing with kids, So that's why Joe Burrow, for me, he was a slam dunk as far as where he was going to be because the guy was already mature, when he came out. So that helped too. That's another thing that you have. Again, there's all these little things that you have to take into consideration when you're doing quarterback evals, and that's what makes it so fun, honestly.
Yeah. And the thing is, when he said the thing about Zach Wilson, I was like, wow, dude, you were so wrong. But then when I listened to what he said about Kellen Mond, I was like, man, you're 100% right about Kellen Mond. I was like, dude, I gotta take you seriously about Zach Wilson because you're really perceptive. And it seems like what makes Chris Sims good, in my opinion, and we'll stop with him, is a lot of people want to focus on 3 things. These are the most important things to look at with a quarterback. There's the whole picture, man. There's 15 things at least. And he does a good job of seeing the whole picture and articulating it. That's what I see.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, again, like I said, when you hit and your track record is as good as Chris Sims is, you can jump out on bridges and jump out on limbs all you want because you've gotten it right so many times. So, yeah.
And he said his goal is to be a GM in the NFL. If he gets this right, someone might need to hire them onto his staff because NFL's quarterback scouting is terrible. It's freaking terrible. And it seems like all these guys in the media and on teams are afraid to really think for themselves the way this guy does. Every year, everyone has the same quarterback rankings and there's no, the bust rate is still sky high.
Yeah. Here's the thing too. My claim to fame with Chris Sims is he's from Ramapo, New Jersey. And I'm from Hoboken, New Jersey, and Hoboken high school team. They hadn't lost a game in 5 years. Powerhouse, absolute powerhouse, straight up powerhouse. Chris Sims comes in, his father's on the other side, and sure enough, in our stadium, boom, 13-7, Chris Sims walks away with a championship for Ramapo. I'll never forget that. Oh no, my bad, not Ramapo, Sparta, New Jersey. He's from Sparta. Okay. So that's my Chris Sims, claim to fame.
Shout out Chris Sims. He clearly watches the show because he stole my Kellen Mond take.
That's it.
Said it. Anyway, the Niners free agent wish list. Why don't you kick this off? Who do you hope the Niners can get?
Realistically, we have to figure out 1, the cap number, 2, what's going on with situations, that are out of our control as far as money and things like that. But there are a few that I've actually, thought about. So I wrote an article talking about AJ Boye from Denver. Right. Look, let me point out the cons first before I tell you what the pros are. Con, injured last year twice. Con, 6-game suspension, which means he'll have 2 games this next year that he'll have to miss because he missed 4. Con, inconsistent play at times. Okay. Pro, 29 years old, got cut from an $11 million contract that Denver didn't want to pay because they're cleaning house right now, trying to either make a move or they're just trying to get under the cap number, right? With a 2-game suspension, he'll be able to be over here with no guaranteed money at all. He's very experienced. When I watched this film, I didn't watch a guy who was getting burned over the top. That was not what was happening. So when people tell me that online, I have to say that you didn't watch, okay? What happened with AJ Boye last year was what he does is he's very safe. He'll back up. He'll allow you to get in front of him, and he wants to make a play at the last second and knock the ball out. This is not AJ Boye from Jacksonville, okay? Also, I want to let you know that. Yes, has his play tapered off? Sure has. But here's what I'm betting on. 1, you can bring in a solid guy who can be across from, hopefully, Jason Verrett, 29 years old, with a pass rush that should be better because, Denver didn't bring him in thinking, oh, we're just bringing in this lockdown guy. They brought him in thinking Bradley Chubb and Von Miller are going to get to the quarterback, and we've got somebody who's solid on the other side. He can still be that guy. And 3, no guaranteed money, or maybe an incentivized deal where he wants to prove the narrative wrong. Because anytime I tweet about AJ Boye, oh, that man's washed, if I can quote Rich Madrid, watch the tape. He's not washed. So AJ Boye is somebody that I think can be brought in who can be 1, plug and play, 2, hopefully cheap, and 3, can be a veteran presence for this secondary, right? Like bring him in. If you pair him with a pass rush, I think he'll be fine. The injuries that he had aren't so concerning. It was like a shoulder injury or something like that. But when I watched him play, he was in the slot guarding Hunter Henry, Keenan Allen in certain games. So he's flexible. Again, you don't just bring him in and just think that, oh, we're just solving our quarterback woes. No, you bring him in because the pass rush is going to cover up any deficiency he has, and he's still safe. The one time that he got beat over his head for a touchdown was a Mike Williams touchdown in one of Justin Herbert's best games of the year. He literally threw the ball where only his man could get it. AJ Boye had a hand up, and it just went right over his fingertips. I think AJ Boye is a solid find if they can bring him in for little to no money. I think that's a good one. That's a good one to start with.
That's a terrific one to start with. Another cornerback who's around the same age, a little bit bigger, that I've always liked is Xavier Rhodes. I don't know which one will be more expensive, but that's another guy that they could look at and bid on because he really just had a good season last year in Indianapolis, and he has the size and pedigree to match up with someone like DK Metcalf, which is what the Niners. I need someone big. Boye's big as well. I've always liked Rhodes. Yeah,
and that's the other thing, right? So the book on Xavier Rhodes when he left Minnesota was he's washed.
Yeah.
But look what happens when you pair him in a great defense. Again, right. That's the thing, right?
Right.
If you're comparing Xavier Rhodes to Rhodes closed Xavier Rhodes, right. You're going to have a bad time.
Right.
But knowing where he is in his career and where you pair him is
right.
what you should be talking about. So that's a good one as well, too. Another name I'll float out to you, and it was rumored that, well, not rumored, it was kind of talked about during the season if the 49ers were going to be buyers, Ryan Kerrigan. Ryan Kerrigan could come over here and be a fill-in guy, and he'll play with Kyle. He's played with him before. Probably no money at all.
Did Kyle and Mike draft him?
I don't know if they drafted him, but I know he was over there during that time.
So let me see.
So you can check it out. So Ryan Kerrigan,
2011. Abso-freaking-lutely, yes.
There you go. Ryan Kerrigan can be brought over for literally nothing. The guy wants to compete for a the guy wants to compete for a championship. He can come right over and be a rotation guy. I hate to say this. Right. As much as I love Kerry Hyder, Ryan Kerrigan will be much cheaper, and can add that veteran presence over there too as well. So if that's
how many former Washington players has Kyle brought over? I mean, a ton.
Jordan Reed, Trent Williams. It's anytime that you get into anytime that he likes you, you come back. Alfred Morris,
Logan Paulson, Alfred Morris, Logan Paulson, the whole freaking team. So yeah, absolutely, Ryan Kerrigan, step on up.
Yeah,
I have more. David Andrews, the center, Corey Linsley, but he's expensive.
He's too expensive.
He's too expensive. David Andrews is even younger. He's been a starter for 5 years for the Patriots. He's a hell of a player. He doesn't miss too much time. I'd be more comfortable going with a vet at center than a rookie because I feel like the center position is so important for the 49ers. You need that experience. Unless you're getting some guy who's really seasoned from college. It's really good. I don't know.
I mean, I guess the I don't want to say lazy, but the one that probably makes the most sense is Alex Mack. That's been out there, right? And Alex Mack has made his thoughts clear about being with Kyle.
Yeah.
And again, he is. And this will be a 1-year thing. So you can bring in Alex Mack this year, bring your stability in, and still draft your center either for either in this draft or the next year's draft and go ahead with it. But you're absolutely right. The center is vital. When Richburg goes down, what I don't think people understand is so many calls that were missed on the offensive line led to sacks. And that has to do with the center. And remember, Ben Garland wasn't there. It was Grasu for a little while. I really think that they had problems communicating on the line, right? That's what Richburg
Brunskill's not a center.
No.
He's not a center.
So the problem with Brunskill is that because he's versatile, it's almost like, plug and play him anywhere. Like he can be solid, but give that man the right guard snaps and let him continue to develop there before you start moving him around like a chess piece where it's not fair to expect the same thing. Ben Garland has to come back too, I think, just to be the guy behind whoever it is that they bring in. That's another person that nobody's, really talking about. He was fine. And remember, Richburg tears his patella tender in the middle of the Saints game. The freaking Saints game. That was like a shootout that you'd like. So they dropped Ben Garland in the Thunderdome. And he was fine. He was fine. So I like Alex Mack. It feels too
a veteran who knew the offense and could make the calls.
Exactly. It feels too like puzzle pieces just matching up, right? So
because he already knows the system. That's pretty good. And again,
Lindsey's better than him, but Lindsey should get paid.
Oh, and will.
Yeah.
Quick question from Raven. My prediction: Niners will sign a backup, draft a quarterback, and then trade Jimmy to the Pats.
You said it twice.
Oh no!
He got you.
Oh, at least I got $5 for it. Oh no, that's twice. I'm losing 3-0. You've been really good, and you've been on top of it. My prediction: Niners will sign a backup, draft quarterback, and trade he who must not be named. Man, I lost in my own game to the Pats. The backup will determine which quarterback we go in the draft. I think he might be onto something. I could see this happening. What do you think?
Signing
a backup.
But who's the backup? Is it Alex
Smith?
See, all right. Here's the thing with Alex Smith, right? He has to, one, get over his feelings with the organization, because that interview that you're alluding to that has made the rounds again, he didn't have too many flattering things to say.
That was like his version of burning a bridge. Like, that's the closest Alex Smith could do to burning a bridge. I was like, hey, Jed York is bad. Bad.
So if you're Alex Smith, right, and this is it, this year is it, because he couldn't even finish the year last year. This is it. Are you going to go mentor someone at an organization that you're not in love with anymore, or are you going to go take a shot somewhere and try to win a starting job somewhere, which is what I think you should do, because you do need to, whatever you got left in that leg, man, squeeze the squeeze the toothpaste out, squeeze it all out and get everything you can.
Buddy. So where do you think, if you were him, where would you, I know where I would want to go. Where would you want to go?
If Alex Smith?
Yeah, I know where I would want to go.
Chicago.
Ooh.
Chicago. Okay. You go to Chicago. They've got a running game. You know that system. Nagy was over there in Kansas City. You know that system.
It's gonna be Chicago. You're right. I was gonna say New England.
Hey, I mean, I could see that happening.
Chicago makes sense. Nagy. It's a reunion. Nagy needs Alex Smith. Alex Smith could use Nagy. That's exactly what's gonna happen. But the problem is, Chicago is cursed for quarterbacks. There's something in the water over there. It just doesn't work. I don't know what it is.
The thing is, too, is if you noticed, when the way the offense switched from when Foles was there, what Nagy did was he stopped calling a bunch of those downfield throws that he was trying to get to Nick Foles. And it was really telling when Nick Foles was doing his Monday Night Football. I forget, it was the Rams, I think they were playing his Monday Night Football interviews. And he was saying, I don't know why the coach keeps calling these downfield throws when all I do is get hit. We don't have time for all that. So if you notice, when Trubisky took back over, the offense became a lot of quick throws, a lot of running. David Montgomery was given the ball until he could throw up like 32 times. So who can execute that with quick throws? Who can navigate the offense? Who's not going to make any stupid decisions? Alex Smith.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been thinking like, the Niners might send Jimmy back to Chicago. He's from Chicago. There's no connection between Matt Nagy and Jimmy Garoppolo. There is a connection between Alex Smith and that is brilliant. Oh, I'm totally convinced. I still don't know what the Patriots are planning to do. They are not tipping their hand, and I respect it.
No, well, Bill. Bill is gonna just sit there and wait until the last minute. Nobody's gonna know what Bill's gonna do at all. Especially I don't know if you remember that draft picture of they're doing the things at home and they cut into Bill's house and the dog's sitting there in front of the laptop. That's Bill, man. He's definitely not gonna be. Yeah.
Hold on. Wait. Where did I lose? Oh, there you go. Whatever Kyle and Lynch do, I'm fine with. Just please don't move up for Mac Jones. Trade down and get him.
I think that the buzz is too big on Mac now at this point. He's going to – and again, look, quarterbacks get overdrafted, and quarterbacks are going to get overdrafted in COVID land football, right? Just, again, no experience. You always take chances on quarterbacks because you fear of missing out. It's FOMO. It's always FOMO with the quarterbacks, especially if you need a quarterback. So I would be fine with that. Like at the back end of the first, if the 49ers were able to trade back and get Mac Jones, I'd be ecstatic.
Fine.
I just don't think
12,
that's going to happen.
Yeah, and if they get him at 12, I would be skeptical, and I would be very skeptical. And if they traded up to get him, I wouldn't like it. No. I mean, look, Tom Brady is a genius, a football genius. Peyton Manning won with his mind. They were also very physically gifted quarterbacks, tall, big guys with rocket arms. That's not Mac Jones. What is it? And like people say it with like Devontae Smith. Well, he ripped it up in college, but look at his body. I mean, what is the upside there? Okay, well, what about Mac Jones?
Yeah.
What about Mac Jones?
Sometimes just looking at people physically doesn't mean anything, right? Like David Boston was the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life, and he couldn't end up being a receiver that was reliable, right? So it's just some guys got it.
what is the absolute best case scenario about someone with that body and athleticism has achieved in the NFL? Well, for Devontae Smith, you can point to Marvin Harrison. He did it. So there's precedent. With Mac Jones, I mean, what is it? Kurt Warner? Is that the best 6'2", 6'3" statue there's ever been?
Look at Brady's first picture at the combine, man. That is such an unflattering photo. That guy, but again,
it's true. But what Chris Sims says, and I agree, is size is an asset. It's a trait. Yeah. And Brady's got it. That being able to stand that tall in the pocket and not be bothered is good. I don't see that from Mac Jones. Mac Jones is going to have to get engulfed a little bit.
This is what's good about the conversation, man. It's like -1 point for this, 1 point for this, and you know what? Body type.
I got -3 points for saying saying that guy's name. God,
we're already at 45 minutes. I might make it. Let's do it.
All right, final topic. One bold 49ers draft prediction. We may have already given some, but
no,
if you got
you're gonna take a defensive end at 12. No, that's not bold. All right, let's get nuts. Okay, and I can't wait to get yelled at online about this. The 49ers trade up and they get their guy this year, man. Whoever that is, they finally do it. That's a bold prediction, even though that's probably not what's going to happen. Yeah, even though that's probably not what's going to happen. It's not in their DNA. It's not what they've done. If they trade up from the second into the late first. That's not the same thing as trading from 12 to wherever you think you have to get your guy. But I think it's time. Honestly, I think it's time that this is it. So my bold prediction is that they move up and they get their guy this year finally.
Yeah, next time we should bet the super chat money, but those weren't the conditions to start off.
Fine.
I would have been more.
You would have been all over it.
I would have been all over it. No, next time we'll put money on it. That'll make it better. We didn't actually have real stakes, and I'm losing, and I'm going to lose. So definitely not changing the rules now. But what were we talking about? Oh, a bold draft. And you say they're going to move up. That is a great bold prediction because I'm saying the opposite. Not that they're going to move down, but they're not going to draft a quarterback in round 1. Mac Jones won't be there. Kellen Mond will. They won't take Kellen Mond at 12. He'll end up going late teens, early 20s, or around where Jordan Love went. The Niners won't get Kellen Mond. They won't get Justin Fields. They won't get Trey Lance. They'll pass on the quarterbacks in round 1. And they'll take Kyle Trask in round 2.
Oh my goodness! And
it's going to really bother everyone. But I can't help but notice that Chris Sims didn't even mention Kyle Trask.
Nope.
Well, that's convenient. Doing his friend a favor, keeping Kyle Trask's stock good and low. What if Chris Sims had come out and been like, this Kyle Trask guy's a lot like Mac Jones. Why is no one talking about Kyle Trask? Because you know what? He's a lot like Mac Jones. Anything you say you like about Mac Jones, I bet you Kyle Trask can do it too. Plus, he's 6'5", 245. So I think, look, a guy who likes CJ Beathard, a guy who likes Mac Jones is going to like Kyle Trask too. If there is a Kyle Trask fan club and it's small, I'm in it.
You're in it.
And Kyle's in it. I guarantee it. So that is my bold prediction. Kyle, round 2, Kyle Trask, and all the Niner fans are going to have to learn to love the person they hate because of me. That's my
man.
Can you see it?
With that, so I mean, honestly, I low key just want to see it just for chaos. I mean, look,
he didn't say a word about Kyle Trask.
No,
okay, Chris.
They didn't. So that's what's funny about it, right? You interpret it as okay, maybe hooking his boy. I interpreted it as him hooking his boy up by keeping Justin Fields low too. So I mean, that's the beauty part of all this too. So
here's the thing. He said a lot of stuff about Justin Fields that if he's wrong, he's going to wear for the rest of his career. He took him on and was like, no, it's not going to work. So it's on his reputation. He just decided not to say a word about Kyle Trask. Not he's good, not he's bad. I'm just not going to discuss that, man. Fine. Did he just do that with Brandon Ayuk? Did he have things to say? Did he intentionally rank him low?
Remember, Ayuk's a system guy. Needs to be in a system that works for him, right? Like a Kyle Shanahan offense. Said those words, right? So what does that do? Man, we got to stay away from Ayuk, man. We don't, but we did find out that the Packers, before they took Jordan Love, if Brandon Ayuk's there, they would have taken him. And good God, could you imagine Devontae Adams lining up across from Brandon Ayuk?
But let's be realistic here. I don't think Kyle's sharing his draft notes with Chris. I mean, that's dangerous. You can't do that. So I don't think that's happening. I do think they think alike, but I think Kyle's basically better at scouting wide receivers than Chris Sims is. Let's be frank.
Yeah,
Kyle played that position.
can we slander Chris Sims a little here? Did you see his top 10 wide receivers in the game
I don't
list?
think he's good at that. That's not his
Devontae
thing.
Adams is not on your top 10 list. The man was unguardable this year.
Right.
What are you talking
That's
about?
not his thing. But at quarterbacks, I think it is possible that Chris Sims is a better scout than Kyle Shanahan, which makes it interesting. But it's fun to do the conspiracy theory like, oh, Kyle told him, but Chris Sims can't say it, but he's going to give us clues. Like, nah.
A lot of smoke.
Yeah. So my bold prediction is Kyle Trask in round 2. Your bold prediction is trade up for who? Who's it going to be?
It's Jones. It's Fields.
No. Okay. You think that it is a smoke screen. So we're both going smoke screen.
Yeah, we're both going to smoke. We're just choosing what narrative we want to push, and
I like it. And we're both wrong, most likely. So people
most likely for sure. I can't wait to be wrong.
Me too. That's the best part about being a sports writer. Some people ask me Grant, why did you want to be a sports writer? My answer every time is, well, look, I mean, there's doctors, there's lawyers. Those people, when they're wrong, people's lives are ruined. When I'm wrong, Mike McGlinchey gets his feelings hurt. And you know what? It's like, suck it up, Mike. You're way richer than me. You can handle it. I like being able to be wrong. It's just so great.
And look, when I'm wrong, internet trolls, with faceless, profile pictures are yelling at me, and I'm just like, man, I made it. The thing is if you didn't care about what I had to say, then don't tweet me. But you do. So don't let me be on your mind. That rent-free thing, I love it. I'm loving it right now.
And thanks for keeping me honest. Thanks for taking that much time out of your day and dedicating it to me and my career. I really appreciate it.
I look at it and I'm like, all right, cool. Keep moving. My daughter needs some goldfish right now, so I'm just gonna go feed her. I just that's what I love about it is that those internet trolls think, man, I really wrecked his day. Nah, bro, I gotta change some diapers and I gotta do stuff that's real life. I really don't care about what they say.
Just before we got on, I've been watching. Somehow I'm, sometimes some other people are having an argument on Twitter and you're in it because you got tagged in the original.
Oh
thing.
yeah,
Rich Madrid, who I love, he needs to internalize this advice because he is having a nonstop argument with.
It's not just him though.
It's like, dude, Ted H is going to wear you out, man. Ted H has all day. Just stop.
I respect his drive. I respect it, man. I respect it. I've gotten away from talking about the quarterback online. That's it.
Almost said it. He almost said it.
He almost said it.
Okay, I lose 3-0. Jimmy, I lose. Dang. All right, well, next time we're going to put money on it, and I'm going to bring my A game. Jason, thanks for coming on the show. This was a good one, man.
Thank you, Grant. I appreciate you as always, bro.
And I'll see you on the next – well, you'll be here next week, same time, same place. But on your channel, which I didn't post a link to, but I will in a minute.
You're good, man. You're good, bro.
You had the ultimate roundtable. It was like the Royal Rumble of 49ers Twitter. It was great. You created it, made it happen. If you didn't see it, we're going to be doing it again in the future. It's tight, and it's on Jason's channel.
Appreciate that, Grant. That's easily one top 2, top 3 moment, since I've been, doing what I've been doing, man. To be able to pull those smart guys and all you guys together, you said I'm the most liked guy on 49ers Twitter. Nah, I just built relationships, honestly, and that's really what it's about, really. And
it's amazing to see how much sports journalism has changed the last 12 months. 12 months ago, I didn't know. I'd never heard of StreamYard. I didn't know who you were, and I'd never really talked to Akash or didn't know who Vish was. And now I feel like we're all, the 8 of us are on the cutting edge of what sports journalism is now. And in 2-3 years, all these old guard people are going to be doing what we're doing. So I thought it's just really cool to be doing it now.
Get on the cutting edge or be on a chopping block. That's it, man. That's just how it is.
That's right. All right. The cutting edge duo over here will be back same time, same place next week. See you then.